How did people endure or succumb to the coldest months of the year in the Middle Ages? How did they stay warm without an electric heater or hot water bottle? What did they eat? And how did they entertain themselves in freezing cold conditions? The onset of challenging climatic periods meant that the long, dark winters of bygone eras were even colder and more perilous than today, with the constant threat of famine or disease. Winter was a challenging time feared by our ancestors. Welcome to the Trials of Historical Winter. Hello guys, and welcome. If you would like to hear more historical gossip, then just click on that subscribe button. Now, let's start today's video. Most people's homes were basic and lacked proper insulation, filled with chilly drafts. Structures constructed from woven wood and clay were designed to try conserve the warmth as much as possible. The central focus of the house was the fire, providing both heat for cooking and a gathering place for the family. Ventilation holes in the roof were common, allowing smoke to escape. This often led to a lingering scent of smoke, especially in winter. Occasionally, a second floor accessible by stairs was used for storage while the main area housed tables and beds around the fire. Vikings in Scandinavia had long, narrow fire pits, and their houses were elongated, lined with stones to distribute the heat. Viking houses had attached sheds to shelter livestock in the cold months. Animals were kept not only as a food source, but also for warmth, though this led to crowded, smelly, and noisy living conditions. Stone buildings were notoriously cold, and glass windows were a luxury. In various regions, attempts were made to seal windows with different materials due to the lack of glass, depending on the resources available. A combination of insulation and radiation was the best way to stay warm. This was achieved by staying close to a heat source and retaining heat near the body with thick clothing. Layering was the most direct approach to this. Linen undershirts were worn under woolen garments. Wool, warm and heavy but very itchy, was separated from the skin by linen, easier to wash and dry. In cold months, outerwear such as boots, gloves, scarves and cloaks were worn. Amidst smoke, sweat and animals, the indoor winter for historical people must have been particularly pungent. The wealthier could get outdoor metal heaters. Priests would use them since hands could numb during long sermons in cold churches. The idea of dropping items during ceremonies was scandalous, so decorative heaters were used. Bricks and stones heated in the fire and wrapped in cloth were used as a kind of historical hot water bottle. The rich lined their winter clothes with fur, while others used various animal skins for the same purpose. Capturing game required permission from the authorities. Sumptuary laws prohibited certain classes from wearing specific furs. It wasn't only those in the north suffering from the cold. Sometimes the climate in various regions could be extremely harsh in winter. In different years, major rivers and lakes froze between December and March. In some places, markets were even held on frozen rivers. Regions experienced heavy snowfall and freezing conditions, creating unique challenges for survival. In agricultural communities, work was endless, and there was always something that needed to be done. A lot of preparation and effort were required to get through a historical winter. Gathering firewood could start in spring and continue into summer to be collected and stored. Any food harvested in the fall had to be preserved to last through the winter months. Various preservation methods were used, including pickling, smoking, drying and brining. Dried cereals and legumes were stored in ceramic or clay jars for future soups and stews. Ground wheat could be incorporated into bread and biscuits. During winter, it was particularly challenging to find fresh fruit and berries, so they were air-dried or pickled in summer. Milk was essential in the diet and could be transformed into butter, cheese, or yogurt. Large barrels could hold various preserved foods for an extended period. Of course, no one can harvest crops if there's nothing to harvest. Famine in different historical periods was believed to occur every few decades. The worst catastrophes led to enormous challenges, including infanticide and extreme measures for survival. Historical communities faced various crises, and recovery took time. After managing all the maintenance and chores, people needed activities to avoid going crazy in long and cold winters. Agricultural work was limited and much time was spent indoors, so people enjoyed snowy games like sledding and skating on frozen lakes and rivers, using various materials for skates. Indoor time was spent spinning wool, telling stories, or playing board games like chess, backgammon, and dice. The nobility combined sports and food procurement in winter hunts. Various texts from historical periods provided advice on dealing with winter challenges, including diet recommendations and preventive measures against common ailment. For those living in different climates, accustomed to specific weather conditions, a challenging winter in historical times would have been a shock. And you guys, how are you keeping yourselves warm during this cold January?